I'm excited to show you our new content creation tool, which for the first time closes the loop between your strategy and your first draft. Instead of starting from a blank page, Floyi now creates content that's already infused with your brand foundation, your audience personas, and its exact place in your topical map. So every article is perfectly interlinked from the moment it's created. Let me show you how it works right here inside the Authority Planner. Okay, so now that we're in the planner, let me make this a little bit bigger. You'll see the same table with the hierarchical tree to show your topical map here. You can expand all, collapse still, the importance, SERP results, the AI overviews. Then you still have your drawer here of content info about your link management, your content snapshot, content briefs that you generated. Here, we still have view content briefs. You can click it. Let me close it real quick. I'll bring it back up. And then here, now we have the content icon. It shows you what stage your piece of content is in. Once you've generated a content brief, you'll now have this blue icon that shows it's ready for your first draft. You can see here, down here for IBS diagnosis and tests, there is no content brief yet. So the content icon is still grayed out. So let's bring up, let's say, what is irritable bowel syndrome? You can see here was our original brief. Okay, we have all our information here, everything. You can see when it was generated. Now we can also edit. Okay, you can edit anything you want in the brief before we start creating our content. If you want to change the title, if you want to change the meta description, if you want to delete sections, you can. You can change any of the points in here. If you want to change your keywords, remove keywords, you can add keywords. You can add internal links, add external links. One of the big things with our internal links here, you're going to see all this code here, which is fine. It's a hash that tells us our internal link because the brief agent has already added all these internal links to your other topics. And so they're there for reference for our agents. But down here, you can see in the preview, you'll see what it's like. If your domain is the Mayo Clinic, then that's the domain you have, and then your URLs. So you can see that I made some changes because I added this field here, but all you need to do is click Save Changes, and now you've saved your brief for content creation. Now you can click here, go to content creation, and it'll take you to the content creation page. But what I want to show you, I'll show it to you on another one. So I'll show it to you on one of these here because these are new. I've already created a content brief there. Let's create one for IBS diet and food guides. I haven't done that one yet, I don't think. So all we need to do is click that icon. Now we're loading up. Everything is loading, and we'll see the content brief here. You'll see it again before we start creating the article. So let me show you what we have going on here. On the left, we have the outline sections, the headings that we'll have once you've generated an article. Here, we'll get another look at the content brief. Okay, you can still edit the brief. Just click it here, and we'll get that same pop-up, and you can just edit as you want. On the right-hand side here, we have our title and meta description. You can edit here. You can edit the meta description. If you want to change the URL, you can. So everything will be connected, and changing the URL here will, of course, affect your topical map as well. So if you change it here, just be careful. Just know that it'll affect the topical map elsewhere, your URLs, especially if it's a parent topic. Okay, and here we have strategic intent here. I want to stop here because this is really cool. So for the last 2 years, AI writing tools have popped up all over the place, right? And then, of course, you have your ChatGPTs and Claudes. But all you've been getting is a bunch of generic, soulless content. And that's because they've trapped us in a list of adjectives. You're asked to pick an adjective: professional, friendly, casual, witty. But your content doesn't need a new flavor. It needs a clear mission, a clear job of what it needs to do. That's why we've built this content creation engine So instead of asking you to pick an adjective, we ask you to define the job that your content is supposed to do. So the framework gives you 3 strategic styles to choose from. The first style we have is teach. Think of it as the guide. It's the helpful, empathetic expert you use to build trust and educate a new audience. So it's perfect for your informational content, your what is post, your how to's. The second style is structure. We call this persona the architect because its only job is to create a logical, semantically rich blueprint of a topic that search engines and AI models are built to cite. Use this style when you want to be the definitive source of truth. So anything, especially technical, in-depth explanations, things like that, technical breakdowns, they would all be good. And the third style is convince. This is the advisor persona. It's for your bottom of the funnel content where you need to move beyond explaining and making a case to persuade your readers and turn them into customers. So you want to use this when you want to drive a decision. It's great for your service pages, your product reviews, service reviews, comparisons, commercial content, all that. As you can see, it's not just a list of random adjectives that everyone else has. This is something unique. This is something that when you, as a writer, write, you have a purpose with your piece of content. And that's what we're doing here. Your content brief will also have a suggested strategic intent. Which persona, which job do you want them to do? Here, the brief agent suggested to use the guide persona to teach. And because this query is all about diet and food guidance for IBS. Okay, so now let's keep going. Let's check out some of these other fields. AI draft. This will let you know what stage the draft is in once you get started with generating the draft. Editorial status, you'll have options here to set whether, it needs to be reviewed by someone, whether it's approved, whether it's ready to publish or published. The brief version. So if you generate more than one brief, you'll have a list here. So you can see here, I have 2 briefs here. So if you generated more than one brief, you'll have different options here. Specialist agents. We have 2 specialist agents right now. We have an intro and key takeaways agent, and we have a fact check and research. So the intro and key takeaways agent, after the article is drafted, what they're going to do is take all that whole article, they're going to write an intro, they're going to write up a list of key takeaways and place it right at the top of your article. Then we also have a fact checker and research agent. These are 2 separate agents. One will fact check and then the other will research. We have 2 levels of research here too. We have a basic sweep and then we have a deeper research, advanced deep dive. These specialist agents will cost a little extra depending on the research depth that you want to go to. And once you have your settings, all we need to do now is click create draft and it will get going. It takes 5 to 15 minutes because we've selected specialist agents. It'll take a little extra time because they go through each of the sections. You can click back to the authority planner and start a whole nother article if you want. So what I'm going to do here is show you some new filters. We've cleaned up the filters. You used to have a bunch of small little pills here. Now we've cleaned it up a little bit more. So now we have this whole editorial workflow for articles. So you could see here, you can click here, you can see the articles that are waiting review is the stage you come to after the article is generated. The AI will set this to review status so that you know that when you see this orange, this is an article that you need to review and double check. Then we have article needs editing. If you have a writer or you have a VA that's going through this, you can set the editorial status to say this article needs a quick review. And then you have article ready to publish. So once you look through the article, made your own edits, you can set it to ready to publish and it'll be right here. Anyone can filter and just say, okay, this article is ready to go. Okay, so I am going to wait for the article to finish and then we will come back. And we are back. The article is done. I'm going to show you real quick here how to get there. So all we need to do, it's the orange icon here. We click it because it's waiting for us now. Draft is done. All right, let's take a look. We have our intro. Great. People with persistent abdominal pain often face confusing, restrictive diets that trade nutrition for temporary relief. Great. Love that first sentence. It talks about what this article is going to cover. It talks about the reasons for why you need to keep reading to the reader. And then it gives the key takeaways here. You can see, love it, numbers, stats. What is IBS right off the bat? Love the formatting. Look at the formatting. You got bullets, you have scannable, easy for humans, and especially for LLMs, AI models, search engine algorithms, and machines to read. So you can see how nicely formatted it all is. No big paragraphs, no big chunks. So you keep going. So a little navigation here. You have the outline here. You can click back and forth, right? Let's keep going down. Then we have our frequently asked questions. Sometimes this will give a little bit more than really needed. So you can just delete some of this information. So let's keep going. Keep going down past this facts. Then you have your sources that were used for the research, the top SERP competitors that you used, if you want to use them as sources, or you just want, at least it's there for reference. And then you have the search queries used by the researcher agents. These are all the different search queries that were used. So you can see a lot of AGA. So you have like a lot of the NIH articles here. If there were common external links, common sources that these competitors used, it would also be in this sources list. Okay. So it didn't seem, so there were no common external links here. And you also see it in the brief. So let me take you through the dashboard a little bit. So we have our editing toolbar. You have your view percentage, your headings, paragraphs. Then you have your bold, italics, and all the superscript, subscript, code blocks. You have links. So if you want to set up a link here, set to open a new tab, set to no follow. You have your find and replace here. Then you have your alignment. You can insert tables. Just pick your location and insert, oh, I want a 3x3 table here. Okay, you could add more rows, add columns, or if you don't want it anymore, just click delete. You could create bullet lists, number lists, task lists, and then here you have changes. Okay, so this will automatically save after a couple seconds, I think, of inactivity. If you're not doing anything, it'll automatically save here. But there's also a manual save button for you. Here you can see past versions. You know, if you draft this article more than once, then you'll be able to compare it side by side. You'll get into a split view here, and your old version will be on the right. Then we have our copy. So you can copy the markdown. You can copy it in HTML, or you can export it to a docx file, HTML, markdown, and text file. You also get the markdown format in the text file. If you're copying into WordPress, you can just copy markdown and just paste it into WordPress, and it's perfect there. And if you want to copy to Google Docs, you can also do copy markdown because you can paste as markdown in Google Docs. The other thing here is, and I'll show you split screen. Here you can click your brief version. Okay, you can see what brief you're on. But if you just want to reference the brief again, click show brief, and now you have your split screen. And this is the same split screen you would have if you were reviewing past versions of the article. So you can compare the, let's say, the section, what is IBS and how does diet affect symptoms? So you just scroll way to the top and you could compare. Does it cover, does the article cover a lot of what was needed, a lot of what was suggested by the brief agent? So keywords to cover, yeah. So you have this really long one for FODMAPs and what it is. Then you have your internal links. So it worked in the internal link here. Word count suggestion. So when you're in here, when you're in split view, you can just press the escape button or click close to close it. Let's open back up this sidebar. And you'll notice down here, the word count here, will give you the total article word count. Now, if you ever want to regenerate draft and you want to do it without specialist agents or with specialist agents, you can click edit for next draft and then you can change this and just close it. Now that they're unchecked, your next draft, if you click regenerate draft again, will have no specialist agents. You won't have an intro, no key takeaways or fact checking and research. And if you ran your first draft without any specialist agents, you will have the option of a run specialist button down here. You'll be able to click one of the specialist agents or both, and then there'll be a run specialist button down here, and you'll be able to just run it individually. You can go back to the authority planner anytime, and you can start going on your next article. So you could see here, I didn't change it. Let me change that real quick. I can change the status of that to, let's say, approved. So give it a second. Once it's saved, click back to Authority Planner and it'll refresh itself. Let's see, and you can see the purple. And then you'll see the different color statuses and things like that. That is it. You start creating content and let us know how it goes.